It's that time of year again where St. Louis fans celebrate the festivities, fun, and drama that build around what many consider to be a St. Louis holiday. The construction on Fairgrounds Road near the St. Charles Convention Plaza is causing traffic delays near Highway 70 near 5th Street, but is to be completed by October of 2016. This will be the 10th time the Blackhawks and the Blues have played one another in the history of the playoffs. While the Blackhawks may be on a little bit of a downward spiral toward the end of the season, the Blues are rolling into the playoffs, winning 8 of their last 10 games. 3 of Lindenwood's starters earned individual players of the year, including Jordan Constance as midfielder. The annual St. Charles Torch Run is held every May and originated in 1986 as a 30-mile trail. The Blues host the Blackhawks Friday night in Game 2 before the series heads to the Windy City for Games 3 and 4. For LUTV News, I'm Charlie Mager. The women's lacrosse season will conclude with the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference Tournament at Lindenwood's Hunter Stadium. The 2016 campaign was arguably the best season that Lindenwood has ever seen in that respective sport.
The Lady Lions got off to a rocking start this season, winning their first 10 games in a row. Assistant coach Brian Smith condones his seniors for leading by example, whether they're starters or contributors.
We've got a couple of them in there as captains, Maddie Osello and Jordan Constance. So their leadership, in the captain role for our team is very, very important, and we rely heavily on them for that. And then the rest of the senior class has done a tremendous job with whatever their role is, whether it's a starter, contributor, or someone that comes in off the sideline.
3 of Lindenwood's starters earned individual players of the year, including Jordan Constance as midfielder.
Jordan Constance was happy but not yet satisfied with the team's goals.
It's definitely up there, but still there's one that I'm still waiting for. We still want to get that national title, so that tops everything. But it's a nice accomplishment for myself to get that, especially for being my last year.
From an academic standpoint, junior Morgan Judd received the 2016 RMAC Summit Award for highest grade point average of all participants in the RMAC finals. She complimented her parents and coaches as being her primary motivators and role models.
They're one of my best motivators, and I've got a high bar for myself as well and from my sisters.
Lindenwood finished the regular season with a 22-1 win over Rockhurst for their senior day at home. With the win, the Lady Lions improved their season record to 14-2 with an undefeated 8-0 at home and 6-0 in conference play.
Lindenwood will return to action on Friday, May the 6th for the conference semifinals as the number 1 seed against a yet-to-be-determined opponent. For LUTV News, I'm Charlie Mager. The Missouri Torch Run in St. Charles on Wednesday followed the run on Tuesday night at Busch Stadium with the same purpose of raising awareness for the Special Olympics.
The 31st Annual Missouri Law Enforcement Torch Run works to raise millions of dollars annually and recruit thousands of law enforcement officers from around the nation. It originates in more than 40 different locations and culminates at the site of the state's summer games. Eric Frizzy, who works with the organization, describes the routine and mentions that St. Charles is not the only place where the torch run is held.
We're going to light the torch, and then we're going to just have a quick run around St. Charles with the kids, and going to carry the torch, get a chance to enjoy this beautiful weather a little bit, and then we'll be headed out onto the next spot.
The annual St. Charles Torch Run is held every May and originated in 1986 as a 30-mile trail. The point of the Torch Run is to raise awareness and funds for the Special Olympics, with over 200 agencies working it every year.
One of those agencies is Shelter Insurance. Chris Ricks, who represents Shelter Insurance as the event's primary sponsor, discusses the relationship Shelter and the Torch Run have had over the years.
Shelter has a long-standing sponsorship with the Show Me State Games, and Shelter is synonymous with the Missouri. This is our home state, and the Show Me State Games are synonymous with Missouri, and so our partnership is kind of a natural fit, and it helps us promote family fun and fitness, and also give back to the customers and people in the communities that we live and work in.
Shelter Insurance has been a longtime sponsor of the Show Me State Games, and it was our pleasure to help bring this back as part of our sponsorship. We thought it was a great way to say thank you to Missouri.
After the torch was lit, the St. Charles Patriots fired off a cannon to indicate the beginning of the event. A parade of police vehicles, followed by the kids participating, went down South Main Street before making a loop around back to Frontier Park.
The The Shelter Insurance Torch Run will make its next stop to the Missouri State Capitol in Jefferson City on July 22nd. For LUTV News, I'm Charlie Mager. The Blues are poised for a playoff run as they face the defending champion Chicago Blackhawks in the first round of the 2016 Stanley Cup playoffs. And the fans I spoke with say this is the greatest of times for the long and intense rivalry between these two Midwestern cities and their teams.
Thousands of fans gathered outside the Scott Trade Center on Wednesday in anticipation of another exciting postseason series between St. Louis and Chicago. Knowing they're going up against the defending champions, fans were skeptical about the Blues' recent postseason experience and what is needed for them to beat the Blackhawks.
It's got to be goaltending. It all starts there. You know, in the playoffs, you need a hot goaltender. That's where it starts. That's where it ends. And I think Brian Elliott's our guy, and you know we're going to lean on him hard. And yes, we are. Hopefully, play some good defense in front of him.
Chicago Blackhawk fans, on the other hand, lean on their leadership that has helped them over the last 6 years.
I think it's the leadership, really. Just this team's been here. They've done it before, right? Having gone through all those motions gives you that confidence to come back here, even though you struggle, like I said, at the end of the season.
This will be the 10th time the Blackhawks and the Blues have played one another in the history of the playoffs. While the Blackhawks may be on a little bit of a downward spiral toward the end of the season, the Blues are rolling into the playoffs, winning 8 of their last 10 games.
When Blues fans were asked about what is most pivotal in a playoff series, they stressed the importance of grabbing momentum in the first game.
I think winning this one's really important. It's going to be the tone for the rest of the series. It's actually probably one of the closest times we've had the last, I don't even know, 10 years I've been watching to win the Cup. So it's now or never.
The Blues pulled out the win in overtime with a game-winning goal from their captain, David Backes. The Blues host the Blackhawks Friday night in Game 2 before the series heads to the Windy City for Games 3 and 4. For LUTV News, I'm Charlie Mager. Coming up on LUTV News, Bernie Sanders makes an appearance not too far from St. Charles. Find out where he was and why he was there. Plus, Missouri voters head to the polls on Tuesday to cast their votes in the presidential primary election. And an array of talent comes to St. Charles. Those stories, plus sports, weather, and more ahead on LUTV News. Welcome to this edition of LUTV News. I'm Charlie Mager. Several presidential candidates are visiting St. Louis before next Tuesday's Missouri primary election, including Donald Trump. Trump will speak out to a rally on Friday at the Peabody Opera House starting at noon. Doors open at 9. Speaking on behalf of his wife, Hillary, former President Bill Clinton is in the St. Louis area to speak on Tuesday in the District 9 Machinist Hall in Bridgeton, just off of 270. Lastly, Senator Ted Cruz plans to speak in Maryland Heights on Saturday at Orlando Gardens starting at 6 p.m. A professor at the University of Missouri-Columbia finds her way into the media yet again. The university's Board of Curators fired Melissa Click in February for her actions amidst campus-wide protests. The now former professor feels that she was wronged in their decision to terminate her employment. Click was caught trying to prevent student journalists from reporting on campus student demonstrations. Film director and producer Spike Lee is looking to create an ESPN documentary about Mizzou football protests during the middle of the 2015 season. Lee expressed interest after watching a 30-minute documentary about the student group called the Concerned Student 1950 Movement to Campus. The movement caused the football team to boycott all football-related events in early November. Lee intends to use footage from that documentary for his digital short, which will be aired in May on ESPN. In the meantime, University of Missouri-Columbia is bracing for a multi-million-dollar budget deficit. School officials are projecting a $32 million shortfall for the coming school year. The shortfall is a result of a sharp drop in first-year enrollment, along with a decrease in student retention. Mizzou initially estimated a drop of about 900 students, but the estimate has now been increased to 1,500. University leaders will use a hiring freeze and a 5% budget reduction to close the deficit. The White House held a meeting that hasn't been done since 1997. President Barack Obama welcomed Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to the White House on Thursday. The two discussed steps to take for climate changes, perhaps the biggest being the cut to methane emissions from oil and gas operations in an effort to improve the development of green technologies. Trudeau's visit will be capped off by a Thursday night dinner with President Obama. Frank Sinatra Jr., the son of the heavily famed Frank Sinatra, passed away on Wednesday. Sinatra Jr. was 72 years old when he died of cardiac arrest in a Daytona Beach hospital. The famed music artist released his first album in 1965. He performed in dozens of countries and 47 states by age 24. Sinatra Jr. was scheduled to perform at Lindenwood University's J. Scheidegger Center for the Arts in May. Straight ahead on LUTV News, meet a member of the Lindenwood University Admissions Office who recently won a special award. We'll find out who he is and why the award was a first of its kind, coming up.